Hey everybody, welcome back to our deep dive series on the romance options in Cyberpunk 2077 with members of our S Legion community. This is part 2. If you missed part 1, you're definitely going to want to listen to that. It was a great start to our conversation with Timebean and Lady Reaver, two very active members of our community who are very much romance enthusiasts. We talked about general reactions to all of the romance options in Cyberpunk 2077, as well as some of our favorite romance quests from other games, and what makes a good romance quest in general. If you missed part 1, there should be a link to it on the screen right now, or you can find it in the description below, as well as a link to the entire playlist for this series. Here in part 2, we're going to start off by talking about missed opportunities. Who are the biggest missed opportunities for romance characters in Cyberpunk 2077? We're also going to talk about those spicy scenes of first-person intimacy, and we'll talk more about how some of the romance options feel really thin and tacked on compared to others. Finally, see if you can predict how many times Lady Reaver is going to say the word snoo-snoo in this episode. Comment below before going any farther. Here is part 2. Of our deep dive discussion into Cyberpunk 2077 romance.
You meet Kerry in the third act. Yeah. At least Panam had an overarching storyline throughout the whole story.
Yeah, Judy you meet early on.
Yeah, you get Judy and Panam are integral parts of the stories. You will interact with them. You don't need to interact with River, and you don't need to interact with Kerry.
Hey, that's actually a good point.
Yeah, they came up as side quests.
Yeah.
They're side quests. They're tacked on, totally. We had the best option for a romance for a female V. We had Takemura. Sexy Takemura. Yes. Banter was already written in with Takemura. Him talking in parables and being very refined. You eating gross meatballs off a stick and laughing at him a little bit. It was so cute and so adorable. And he is so hot with the silver fox hair. I don't understand why we didn't date Takemura. Could you imagine the date with that? He cooked you dinner, like with plum sauce or whatever amazing crap he was talking about when he was talking about food. And oh my God, it would just be, even as a lover, right? Not as a you're going to end up living with him at the end, but just as a lover, you know? Why didn't we get him? I just don't understand.
There's a couple others too.
I want to see his hair down.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I can't quite relate, but I thought Claire was a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, she has this whole story of how the only man she ever loved and whoever loved her, died in this race thing, and so you help her deal with that. But I thought that was a missed opportunity for more of a relationship with her.
Dude, you get more of a emotional interaction with Claire. And it is a friggin' racing quest, right? It is the horse races from The Witcher 3. And you get more interaction with Claire, with Claire during these sort of horse race type things than you do with River, which is supposed to be a romance quest. Like, it's just very strange. The balancing is really strange there.
Yeah, like even at the end of like getting together with River and you decide to go long term or whatever, he just says, "Oh, you gotta leave me? Well, see you later," and walks off. Not even a shoulder touch.
Yeah. The best part of the writing with the River quest was not River or your interactions with him at all. It was his sister. It was his niece and nephew. Somehow he's one of these guys.
Another missed opportunity there.
Oh, yeah.
His sister was awesome.
She was great, John. And I don't know. And just like the little things, like when you're done with the very strange sex scene with him or whatever, and you're out and you're wearing his t-shirt and, you're kind of standing there and having coffee with him, and his sister comes out. Like, that was just really cute and really sort of natural. And you're like, I kind of felt a little sort of like a hoe standing there and realizing what I had just did to him in the room earlier. But, no, it's fine, whatever. But yeah, the best part of his quest was his family, not him.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I agree. He, as a character, he was kind of flat, but then all of a sudden, even approaching it from a non-romance perspective, you do these jobs with him, and he clearly, he's like, one of the rare good cops on the force. So I was like, okay, I kind of like that. He's kind of but he was so boring, personality-wise. And then suddenly I'm out with his family, and he's like, hey, help me cook this meal, and all this. It's like we'd been friends for months, if not years.
Yeah.
And really, I was like, oh, okay. I felt as awkward as when I go to the house of somebody I don't know very well, and they're like, hey, help us cook.
And they barbecue in leather pants, and you wonder why they would do that in the hot sunshine. Yeah, know that feeling. I've been there.
Yep.
When there's people you barely know and they're including you in like what I would call not intimate, but like family stuff. Like, and it's kind of like, I don't know you, but okay. I don't want to be rude and say no.
Right.
I'm not going to stir the pot, right?
Why did the writers think that right after this fun little interaction with his niece and nephew and everything, that you would want to sit on the porch and him randomly start telling you about his parents getting killed? Like, how, in anyone's conception of a barbecue, leather pants, awkward sister trying to recruit for you, and guy telling you about his dead parents. All of these do not go together at a barbecue. This is like the worst barbecue of all time.
Timing. They obviously wanted to set the mood.
Oh, yeah, right? I guess he's like, if my sister is not doing it, and my niece and nephew isn't doing it, and this terrible rice dish that I made didn't do it, maybe Pity will do it. I mean, I don't know.
Oh, gosh.
He was like hitting all the buttons that you need to hit to like, to get a girl to sleep with you before he takes you to that water tower.
And I've got this checkbox and the next checkbox, and oh, don't forget this one.
It's like he read a book about it, like before.
Yeah, it's very textbook.
It was almost like you were the romance quest and he was trying to check all the boxes. This is one of the cardinal sins that romance quests fall into, and this is one of the reasons why I've hated romance quests in general in pretty much every game I've ever played. I've ranted about this many times on the podcast, etc., but I've seen romance done really well in video games, but I've never seen a good romance quest until Cyberpunk 2077. Now, I have not played any of the Dragon Age games, something that Timebean loves to give me grief about, but that's just... I
believe you talk about games and you haven't played Dragon Age Origins. I've just got to say...
How dare you? I'm just kidding.
How have you not played every game ever made?
Revoke my gamer card right now. Yeah, exactly. How have I not played every game ever made? I don't know.
Speaking of poor romance quests in Dragon Age, I think probably the only character that comes to mind is probably Dorian when it comes to poor character quests, because I did like him as a character, and him saying his dialogue is amazing, but his character quests weren't really that interesting.
Oh, I liked his character quest when we have to go and like confront his father, and it's very sort of emotional. I mean, I've definitely seen worse character quests. But yeah, but I mean, at the same time, I usually don't play gay characters in game, Reaver. So you probably know more about how that romance played out. I did, however, watch the sex scene online just for research because I was writing.
Yes, research.
And you want to talk about great ass, Dorian ass.
Yes.
Very nice.
I concur, yes.
Pixelated booty done right. There's a recipe for it.
I'm going to clip this part of the show, and that'll be the promo for the show. No, comparing it to games that where I have tried out the romance quests, that would be The Witcher 3, Kingdom Come Deliverance. Oh, what else? Baldur's Gate 2. That's going back way too far. But yeah, often it does feel like, okay, yes, you have to select exactly the right... You have to tick these boxes, select the right dialogue options, then you get the banging scene, and then you're done. Or in the case of Kingdom Come Deliverance, a literal roll in the hay. After playing this stupid game of blind man's bluff that they're trying to make it all cute and funny and flirty, but it was just like, wow, this is dumb. Anyway, great game. Just like Witcher 3 is a great game, but I hated the romance in that too. What put me off about that is with Triss, she didn't stick around. You know, she went off on the ship and didn't stick around because I didn't kiss her while she was drunk at the party.
Yeah.
That really put me off. And, people have explained to me how, okay, there's already a history between these characters, and so it's not as creepy as it seems. Well, okay, maybe, but still, it starts to feel like these things are just a sexual conquest rather than actual, you're trying to build a relationship with another character, which that's where the richness of good writing comes from, is in good relationships, good characters. And I think romance quests are no different. If you're going to put those in your game, you got
to do them right.
They've got to, exactly. You got to do them right. Don't make them just be a conquest thing.
Yeah. Romance isn't all an awkward first-person sex scene. Can we please talk about the first-person sex scenes? I'm dying here.
God.
I'm dying. Why?
Well, I don't see any problem with it in my perspective, unless there's an issue with you guys.
I mean, it was fun. Here's my problem. I'm sitting here streaming the game. Niv, who is part of our community, is sitting there with me. And all of a sudden, this sort of, I jump upon this dude and cover his mouth so that his niece and nephew don't hear us. And then I get a naked glimpse of myself in the mirror. And I'm like, oh my God, is this legal? How old are you, Niv? This is the first thing that popped up. It ruined everything. It was awful. It was awful. So maybe it was circumstances for me, but I found the sex scenes a little awkward.
They were awkward as hell.
Okay. Oh, I was going to actually mention. So I actually ended up accidentally locking myself out of the romance because the build up to the romance felt so forced that I did not take the opportunity to kiss Kerry on a balcony, which locked me out of it, and I didn't get the snoo.
Men strange. You have them on your planet?
I'm afraid so.
What they for? Oh, you mean snoo.
But however, I went back and I kissed him on the balcony even though I didn't want to. We commenced with the boat scene, which led to snoo. And I have to say, it was like the craziest mission that I experienced, because holy heck. Okay, so yeah, it just shows how crazy Kerry is. Oh my gosh. And it actually made me like his character a lot. We go onto a yacht, and he's like strumming his guitar, making the ambiance of romance. Then right when we get far enough away from Night City, he stops the boat, he breaks his guitar, and then he's like, okay, now let's destroy this thing. And I was like, okay. And apparently it turns out it's not even his yacht, it's his jerk of a manager's yacht. And in order to get revenge on him, they're gonna destroy and blow up the freaking yacht. But what was also what I liked about the whole scene was that you can initiate the snoo. And right when things get kind of hot and heavy, freaking Kerry pulls out a lighter kind of close to V's area, and I was like, whoa, what are you gonna do with that lighter? And then he throws it, everything catches fire, and they have frenzied snoo all over the boat while it's on fire. And they end
Rock and roll.
Right when they're done, they just jump out the boat before it explodes. And that was freaking epic.
Well, that, gosh.
That's so much better written than Rivers. Wow.
Yeah. Rivers was like, don't wake up your niece and nephew. And it was like,
Yeah.
I'm going to need a minute to process that. That's more bizarre than the lighthouse scene in Witcher 3.
It sounds honestly pretty on par for a rock star.
I love I've heard so much flack given to that. Are you talking about the scene with like the wolves running and him and Yin and all that stuff? I love that scene. I thought that was fantastic.
No, not that one. The one where he's with Triss in the lighthouse and they get it on, and then the light is starts flashing in weird ways, and then it cuts to these guys on the boat watching the lighthouse, and they're like, it's some kind of signal.
Oh yeah.
They start trying to decipher it.
Wait, I have one more thing I want to point out about the river quest. I tell the guy, I didn't tell him this is just a one-night stand, but I did sort of let him down easy. I chose the easy letdown option because I wanted to go romance Judy, right? So my easy letdown option was like, I'm sick, I'm dying, I can't really commit to anything now, and he was really cool. And then he texted me and told me it was a beautiful night or something like that. Then his sister texts me, Joss, who I like and respect and really thought was a cool character. She texts me and she's like, we really are looking forward to having you as part of our family. And you have these two options. One that's like, oh, I hope I can be in the future. And the other one that's like, I can't be. It's not in the cards for me right now. I did not agonize over a single choice in that entire game as much as I did that stupid text. Because I was like, oh my God, because I actually liked Joss so much more than I actually liked River, and I felt really bad. So I finally sent her that text that's like, sorry, I can't really be part of your family. And she never responded, and it devastated me.
Ooh.
It absolutely devastated me. I don't know if you...
Timbean got ghosted by an NPC,
did.
and that was the most tragic event.
I know buildings blew up and people died and terrible things happened, but that hurt my feelings.
Oh.
I do have to say, like, this idea you were talking about where you have to check boxes in order for a romance to work. I do like it when there's different workarounds, or when it's hard to do. It's hard to write in role playing, right? With you have a character that has certain things that they want to see from you before they're going to romance you, right? So, you don't want a character who's going to romance you no matter what, but you also don't want one written that's so stringent that you can't role play yourself in order to make the romance work with them, right? It's sort of like real life, I guess, in that way.
That's actually one of the areas that Fallout 4 got right. The romances were just shallow as hell in that, but if a certain character didn't like the way you conducted yourself and didn't like things that you were doing, and you'd get that, everyone hated that, or Piper hated that, or so-and-so liked that, those notifications for different choices you'd make, then you couldn't romance a particular character if they didn't like you, like if they didn't like how you live your life and how you conduct yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I made a huge mistake in in Judy's quest, and I thought I had screwed up the romance. And when it didn't screw up the romance, I was kind of annoyed, but then the ending, it all worked together beautifully. As a story, it all worked together beautifully. So during the Maiko quest, I killed Maiko. I didn't mean to kill her. The dialogue was very unclear. I meant to chastise her for being a jerk for what she did. And it ended up, she pulled a sword on me and, I had to shoot her. And so I felt really bad. And Judy was angry with me. But we still went on the diving quest. She was sad about what happened to Maiko, but it also resulted in her friends getting killed, right? The Tiger Claws end up taking over the club because there's no strong management to fight against the Tiger Claws now, right? So her poor sort of, sweet, but not super smart friends get killed. So I felt really bad. And I was kind of annoyed that she wasn't more angry with me about that, right? But then later, if you take the quest where you become Queen of the Afterlife, she says to you, she said you probably wouldn't even notice her if she disappeared. And she said that she feels so alone in Night City that she used to be okay. It's something like she used to be okay being an atom floating amongst all the other atoms, right? She's, got that sadness and she has that depth and stuff. But she wants to leave Night City. And she's like, she says something, I can't remember the exact words, but something like, you want to stay here and be Queen of the Afterlife. And that's great for you. But I am alone here. I'm utterly alone here. And she friggin' leaves you, right? And I don't think there's a quest that's associated with all like her friends getting killed and stuff like that. If there is, that is a really nice touch. I don't know if that's the case or not, but that ending for the story between these two characters, the way that I played them, it was very sad. And it wasn't a happy ending, but it felt right. It felt right with that character. It felt right with my decisions. And it was one of the only times in the game that I felt like real RPG elements were really incorporated into that.
Now, Bean, are you talking about this, like where you wake up in your penthouse loft and she's there with you? Or are you talking about like the message she sends you?
No, when you wake up in your penthouse loft. Yep. And she's there with you. And then she leaves, right? Or she, basically tells you, I'm not happy with you. I'm not happy with myself here. Night City is not where I want to be. And the thing about her character, I was telling Reaver this when we were chatting about it. I felt really maternal towards this character, right? More than I felt romantic towards her. All I wanted for this girl, she tried to date this chick, Maiko, who's a terrible person, right? And when she was a little girl, when you go on the diving quest, she had a crush on this girl who was kind of mean to her and blah, 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 and all this stuff. I watched this beautiful, artistic, amazing girl that's into robotics, that's into antiques, that's into all these things, making terrible choices. I'm just like, why would you want to date me? I kill people for a living. A fixer calls, I go kill people, they give me eddies. Don't get with me, right? Go leave Night City, take your beautiful ideas for BDs that bring people together and go do something amazing. Don't get with me. And I kind of was happy in that ending that she decided to leave me. I think that's the best thing for this chick, but
Something similar happens with Pan Am. In that same scene, the nomads are rolling out. Now, you can get an ending with Pan Am where you leave with the nomads. Actually, if you do Pan Am's ending, then the quest where you leave with the nomads, that replaces the Queen or King of the Afterlife. That replaces that Path of Glory quest ending. But yeah, when I did Path of Glory with, having romance Pan Am, she was there instead of Judy, and she's acting all cold and pissed off, and then you have this discussion, and I wasn't entirely satisfied with how it went, because it was like, well, she's leaving because the nomads are pulling out, and you have to pick a dialogue option explaining why you can't go with them, and none of them were good. I was not happy with how it resolved, because I am very sure that the whole reason this is kind of, I'm planning to do a video on this specifically, but when you do that Path of Glory quest, when you're going to rob the Crystal, what's it called?
Crystal
the big
Palace.
space station.
Palace?
The Crystal Palace with all the casinos and whatnot. You listen to what Mr. Blue Eyes tells you before you embark on that quest. It sure as hell sounds like you're doing this because you have the opportunity, like there's something, you have a chance to get your life saved. Mm-hmm. Like all the endings, if V goes back into his body, he only has 6 months left to live. It sounds like Mr. Blue Eyes has an opportunity for you, that if you do this quest for him, there might be a chance that you can undo the damage that's been done. Like you have a chance at survival.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure that is what's going on. But there's no option to say, like, I've got to stay here and sort things out, and I'll and then I'll come and be with you as soon as I can.
Yeah.
If I don't frickin' die.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't as happy with how that resolved.
I think they're trying to play that up, from just the way it seems to me, as that ending, you are choosing to be a Legend of Night City more than you're choosing to be with the people you love, right? Like there's something cold about that Queen of the Afterlife or King of the Afterlife sort of ending. It almost feels like like the way they're trying to write it, and I could be wrong about this because I've only seen it once, that they're trying to write it like you chose that life over the people you love a little bit.
Which seems kind of very inconsistent depending on how you play your character. Like, you could be having maxed out your street cred, but you still go visit Misty and Vic.
Mm-hmm.
Which means they're just forcing you through this one path that if you play your character a certain way, you wouldn't really take. I noticed that with when I got the Path of Glory ending, my V didn't want to talk to Kerry about any of the stuff that happened in Mikoshi, which in actuality, I probably would have explained everything to him, like what happened with Johnny and stuff like that. But V was like closed off. He didn't feel like talking to him. He just hugged him and said goodbye and then went on his gig. And then in the messages, it really got to me because Kerry was going on about how pretty much he was lonely because V was gone, and he was like, my martinis are looking a little sad. And I was like, you're the sad martini. He's the sad martini.
Yeah. I do want to touch on just how impactful those credit roll messages are. Holy crap. And the variety of them that you can get, and I've seen many of them now. And the variety that you get, like, you talk about Pan Am being a firecracker. If Johnny takes V's body, the message he gets from Pan Am is like, oh, wow.
I love
it's
Pan
like,
Am.
watch your back, man. She threatens to come and pull V out of his head through the force of sheer will. Like, she's just...
I think she could do it. I think she could do it.
Yeah, and if V kills himself... it's equally good. Like, all of Pan Am's are great. I like Judy's too. Like, you can get good ones with Judy, you can get bad ones with Judy. Also, if you end the game before completing those quest lines, they're very different, the messages you get from them. Judy's is, actually Pan Am's, like, if you don't complete her quest line, you do get a call from her, but she's like, hey, remember me? I'm the one with the car. You got any gigs to throw my way? I'm looking for work, kind of thing.
Oh, because that means she didn't make it to the head of the family, right? You have to do this quest with her to do that. So she's just, doing what she's doing, just trying to get by because her plan didn't work out to help her family then, right? That's actually really depressing. Like, I can't imagine her not being that. Like, she's just exactly what they need, like,
Well, and this is where I really feel like the game, it doesn't have the variety of choice that I think many expected it to have. It's more of a converging storyline than a branching storyline. You always end up at the same place, but the things that are happening around you, the things that are going on, the way you change the lives of the characters, I think people don't give that enough credit. The way that you don't have an impact on the story, but you do have impact on the characters.
Speaking of which, does Takemura, lovely Takemura, does he call you?
Honestly, I don't know because I didn't save his life.
Yeah, same.
And
I
so
saved him.
You monsters! Oh my god!
It wasn't on purpose. I thought he was.
Monsters.
I did not know I had the option to do that. Johnny was like, he's toast, and I was just. I couldn't see where I was supposed to go to save him, so I was like, okay, I'll just.
Well, I
leave,
noticed when I went back through on like playthroughs because I was like, I don't like what happened there. So I went back and I noticed I fell through the floor. So I was like, oh, that means Takemura's upstairs. So like I went out, Johnny's yelling at me, save yourself. I'm like, F you, Johnny, you don't tell me what to do. So I went upstairs instead.
I had to play that mission like 5 times because I kept getting killed. I was doing terribly because it was dark and I was very stressed out and Johnny was bitching at me the whole time. And I made sure Takemura got saved. There's no way I was leaving my boo behind. Like, there's no way.
Yeah, I because it's very disorienting, and so I was like stumbling around in the dark, and then I was in this room with some dudes, and then I was outside, and to my shame, I assumed at that moment that Takemura dying was a scripted event. I didn't learn till it was like I was hours further on in the game when I learned, I could have saved his life.
Yeah, I was like, when I fell through the floor, I kept getting overwhelmed by enemies, and I was like, I think this is a scripted event, so I just ducked out of there because I tried to fight them, but they kept up killing me, so I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna duck out.
It was a horrible fight. It was.
Oh, it was great for me because I did the whole hacking and sneaking. So I just hid, and then I would like hack them, but they'd be like, where is she? She's here. And then I'd be like, haha, you guys can't see me.
Gosh,
I just wait for my RAM to build.
Takemura. Because look, we all know, come on, River and Kerry were tacked on romances.
That's true.
You're never going to convince me otherwise, the way they were written and everything. If you're going to tack on a romance, why not give us Takemura? Why did you give us one-eyed dude? Oh, and another thing, why does River have one eye? Like,
yeah, there's no explanation for that. I kept waiting for it.
I did too. I was like, is this why you're telling me about your parents getting shot? Did they shoot your eye out during that time period? Was this a BB gun accident, like the Christmas Story? Like, what happened? Why did you decide of all the cool facial tech you could get to get that
Just the
thing?
one eye.
I had a one-eyed dog when I was a kid, and I loved that dog, and I'd pet it, and it was great. But every once in a while, it'd be laying on me and looking up at me, and the one eye would be there, and it'd kind of creep me out. I feel that way about my love.
Yeah.
To wrap this up, let's talk about that a bit more. Let's talk about how it feels imbalanced. The Judy and Panam romances feel really fleshed out. Really, aside from the awkward as hell sex, because it seems to be that seems to be the case in all of the cases. But you have these 4 options.
It just seems that they just rushed at least the last 2. Like, I felt like they've put more focus on Panam than Judy, then Kerry, then River, like in that order. And the last 2 didn't get as much depth to them as they should have.
I 100% agree. I mean, Panam and Judy are main characters. River and Kerry are they seem secondary. You meet them a lot later on in the game, and they're just their quests are not paced well. They don't feel right. You don't have that natural development, that natural getting to know them kind of thing over as much time. And that's the thing. It takes time, and I think this is why romance quests are so hard to do well, is because it takes time to actually for it to feel real and authentic.
And don't get me wrong, even though the start of the whole quest line with Kerry and the whole initiation of the romance felt off and stuff, his romance, once you get like to the second half of it and you're actually in the romance, he's actually a really very attentive lover. Like, he cares about V. Granted, you have to get certain endings just to get certain dialogue, which is kind of annoying. But
he almost set your crotch on fire, though. Just say that.
Well, in some cultures,
I'm not gonna. He's very passionate, and he's actually apparently he's very spiritual, and he's a softie. Like, he tries to put on this whole tough guy attitude, but he's just a big ball of mush. And I don't know, I actually do like his romance. I just wish that the build up to it was better. And it's a shame that it's not.
Okay, that wraps up part 2 of our discussion with Lady Reaver, timebean, MoonTAGG, and myself in our deep dive series into Cyberpunk 2077 romance. In the next part, we're going to dive deep into the endings of the game and whether or not there were more endings planned and whether or not there were more romance characters planned. We're going to get a little bit speculative, but it's still a very fun discussion, and it's not entirely far-fetched when you look at how things are structured to think that perhaps there was more that was planned and that got cut for time or some other reason. So until next time, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to slam that like button if you haven't already. That's the easiest romance you'll ever undertake, is that like button. Just clicking it makes it very, very happy. And of course, leave your thoughts in the comments below, and be sure to sub for future videos on this topic and many others. My name is Ash for the Triple S League. I will talk to you again very soon. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, sub, and hit that notification bell, and then check out some of these other videos. Find the link to our Discord server and other important stuff in the description below.